Ready now? To witness a power not seen for thousands of years?
Now tell me that doesn't get you pumped. So I started working out when I was really young. I was actually about 13 or 14, and by the time I was 15, I was actually quite strong for a 15-year-old, which was weird, but I was a weird kid. Then anyways, I broke my wrist and my arm in quite spectacular fashion, and within a cast that went from my wrist all the way up to my shoulder, which obviously meant I had to stop training. It also meant I couldn't really go to school. I was stuck at home on the couch, just lying there for hours at a time. Pretty miserable, really. Obviously it sucked that I was losing muscle quickly, etc. And I had to find something to do to pass the time, and that's when I discovered Dragon Ball Z on Toonami. And this was the perfect antidote for me to watch, because it was this show all about guys building themselves up stronger, getting tougher all the time, and facing any challenge. And that was one of the things that got me through that long stretch of boredom, and it was also one of the things that motivated me to get back on the horse as soon as I recovered, get back into training, and get stronger than ever. And then when I was 16, I won Teen Bodybuilder of the Month on bodybuilding.com. So, happy ending to that story. So, obviously Dragon Ball Z was quite influential to me as a young kid getting into training. I was also a big fan of martial arts at the time. I did karate, capoeira and tai chi. And it turns out that a lot of other people were similarly inspired to work out by Dragon Ball Z. If you take a look around YouTube, then lots of the big fitness YouTubers are similarly crediting Dragon Ball Z as one of their biggest inspirations. You've got people like Goku Flex, who actually built his entire channel around the whole notion that he's training to look like Goku, and he's also actually achieving it. His body is insane. Congrats. Then there's the awesome Jax Blade, who commented on one of my videos, so that makes me a little bit famous, who often covers training programs inspired by anime characters. And just take a look on Instagram, you'll see loads of workout channels posting pictures of Vegeta and Goku training, or guys training in gis inspired by the show. It's obviously just a big thing, especially in the fitness community. So I thought it'd be fun to break down Dragon Ball Z and see what it is that makes it such great inspiration for people who lift weights or do martial arts. And at the same time, maybe by doing that, I could dive into a little bit about why I'm inspired to keep on training, and maybe inspire you a little bit as well. Who knows? So on the face of it, the most obvious reason that Dragon Ball Z is great inspiration for working out is the fact that it's all about massively strong guys punching 7 shades of shit out of each other. Like, the guys are drawn to look incredibly muscular, incredibly well proportioned. They've got the physiques of, you know, the best bodybuilders on the planet, and it's all anatomically correct. Just looks awesome, and just looking at that is a great kind of aspirational physique to gun for. So that's the obvious thing, and just watching those fight scenes is a great way to get yourself pumped. But I think it goes way beyond that. There's a lot more to it, because there's loads of shows about big buff guys that don't have quite the same cult appeal among fitness enthusiasts. So one of the things I think that sets Dragon Ball Z apart is the fact that it focuses on the training. It actually shows you these guys working out to get stronger. I mean, the training methods they use, training in heightened gravity and hyperbolic time chambers, isn't particularly realistic. You're not going to get your training tips from Dragon Ball Z, but it's certainly cool to see how they actually got those awesome physiques, and to see them working harder and getting stronger. And constantly as the show progresses, you see the characters evolve and get stronger too. And this is one of the things that you can kind of aspire to as well. And you can think, if I keep on training and if I keep on putting in the effort that they're demonstrating, then I can also continue to get stronger. There's a very competitive element in Dragon Ball Z as well. Obviously Goku and Vegeta in particular are highly competitive with each other, always trying to get one up on each other. Vegeta is completely obsessed with being the strongest guy on the planet, in the universe, and he will stop at nothing to keep getting stronger and to keep beating Goku. Goku, meanwhile, just loves training for the love of training. And I think these are things that we can relate to if we go to the gym often. I mean, a lot of people will find that they're motivated by trying to beat their friends and get stronger than them, and I'm certainly competitive with a few of my friends who go to the gym. And likewise, I think a lot of us can relate to Goku, who just really doesn't want to be doing anything other than training. Like, he's bored when he's stuck in a suit when he's having to do general work for Chi-Chi. And I think for a lot of us who love the gym, we can really relate to that because, I don't know, you're bored stuck pushing pencils when really you'd be much happier if you could be lifting weights and training and doing what it is you like. And I don't even really know why it is that training's so fun, but it doesn't have to be aggressive as Goku demonstrates. Training is just fun for the sake of it. But yeah, watching these guys train, watching them push each other further, it gives you a real sense of the kind of same motivation you get in the gym and the kind of camaraderie that maybe you have with your training buddies. And at the same time, it's great to see them always training to overcome the next challenge. They're always working out harder and pushing themselves further. And that's basically the crux of pretty much every plot that Akira Toriyama has ever written. Bad guy comes along, heroes are too weak to beat him, they give it a shot anyways, get beaten. Then they go away, they get stronger, come back, beat the bad guy. Then the bad guy gets stronger and beats them again, and then they get stronger and beat him, and eventually someone gets so strong that they beat them and they stay dead and can't regenerate from a single cell or whatever it is that they can do. So it's all about rising to that next challenge and pushing yourself further and pushing yourself even further beyond.
And this
What's he doing?
is to go even further beyond!
And that to me is what training is all about. It's all about rising to the next challenge, getting stronger so you can take on whatever life throws at you. And not even in a literal sense, because in Dragon Ball Z they can get stronger to beat the enemy, that's how it works. But in real life that's not really how it works anymore, unfortunately, because most of the challenges we face will be financial or career or relationship based, and getting stronger and stronger doesn't really help you in any of those situations. But it is symbolic when you go to the gym. It's my way of saying I'm not going to back down, I'm not going to take this lying down. That's basically, it's a kind of defiance. That's what working out is to me. It's my way of saying I'm never going to give up, I'm never going to give an inch, you know. And a lot of people when they go to the gym and they're feeling low on inspiration and motivation, what they'll do is they'll self-talk themselves up and they'll say things like, I'm the best, you know, I can do this, you know, never surrender, etc. And they'll punch the air and stuff. What I sometimes like to do is to do the opposite and go, you know what, I'm too tired, I'm beaten, I'm defeated. This week has been too much, you know, there's too much going on in my life right now. And then that always gives me the inspiration I need to carry on, because when I get to that point, then I'm like, no way am I giving up now, I'm gonna train even harder. And yeah, that's how it's a defiance to me. And that's why I like it in shows like Dragon Ball Z, where you see the hero, he's beaten, there's no way that they're gonna possibly do it, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to do it anyways, and they just train even harder. And in Dragon Ball Z, they really do train harder, and they push themselves harder, and they shout at the top of their voices. And wouldn't it be cool if you could really just solve all your problems by just putting in pure effort, and you can see that effort on the screen when they're training, when they're fighting, and when they turn into a Super Saiyan, or an Ultra Super Saiyan, or a Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Kaioken times 10. You know, it's just this kind of physical representation of the kind of fighting spirit that you need to succeed in everything, and also particularly to do well in the gym. And this is where I think the real genius of Dragon Ball Z comes across, and I'm not even sure it's intentional, because I think that Super Saiyans are like this fantastic metaphor for human will. So that might sound a bit grandiose for a program that has, you know, talking cats and things in it. However, if you bear with me, so Super Saiyan is unlocked in response to a need, not a want. It happens when they're highly emotional, and then you have other transformations such as the recent Super Saiyan Rage that Trunks did, and Gohan's often raging out. The whole point is it's emotion that fuels the Super Saiyan transformation and makes them stronger and more powerful, and their hair spike on end and their body pulse with electricity. And that's kind of what happens with us as well as humans. Sort of. It's not as cool, it doesn't look as cool, but I've spoken on this channel before about muscle fiber recruitment and about how you can only access a certain amount of your strength, about 30 to 50%, 50% for top level athletes, 30% for everyone else. When you lift a weight, your brain can only recruit a certain number of the muscle fibers at once. There's a purposeful limit on how much you can lift. However, in extreme cases of urgency, of dire need, you are able to recruit a higher percentage of that muscle fiber. It can be done just by raising your adrenaline, and the more you raise your adrenaline, the greater the percentage of the muscle fiber you can recruit. This is why you hear stories, it's called hysterical strength. It's why you hear stories of mothers lifting cars off of their children trapped beneath. And it's why you hear stories about people going mad with rage on the battlefield and going into this kind of rage mode. It's just, when you really need it, it's there, you know, and the rest of the time, it has to be locked away because otherwise you could cause an injury to yourself, etc. But if we could tap into that full potential just a little bit more by having more of that dire need and more will and control over our own bodies, then we could become much stronger. And studies show that even just shouting can raise your adrenaline levels to the point that you actually can lift heavier weights. Just shouting, having someone else present. And what do Super Saiyans do? They're shouting, you know, they're shouting whilst they can crack their muscles. And guess what happens when you raise adrenaline to high levels? Your hairs stand up on end. You know, when you hear an inspiring piece of music and your hairs stand on end, that's adrenaline, that's the fight or flight response. So we can't turn into Super Saiyans. Trust me, I've tried. But hysterical strength and the Super Saiyan have a lot in common. They both involve shouting, they both involve unlocking hidden potential inside yourself, and they both cause your hair to stand up on end. So I just think that the Super Saiyan is a kind of perfect visual representation of the will that you need to perform your very best, to lift your hardest and to defeat any obstacle. I think that's one of the reasons that Dragon Ball Z speaks to you on like this more base level than it has any right to, because like I said, I don't think Akira Toriyama planned any of this, and I'm probably reading way too much into it, but I think on some level he probably drew these characters and he was kind of channeling that kind of sense of will that you have when you just really need to get something done and you're calling upon every last ounce of strength. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting. Thanks a ton for watching. If you did find it entertaining, then please consider liking or sharing. It helps me out a great deal. And if you'd like to see more content like this and training advice and productivity and nootropics and neuroscience, then subscribe and you'll be able to see more down there. Maybe consider following me on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. It'd be great to catch up and answer questions on there. Also, I'm sharing most of my workouts now, you know, a couple of shots from them on Instagram. So if you want to see that, then you can follow me there. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. So bye for now.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!